I'm here with Nicola Scott. How are you?
I'm good. How are you?
Good. So now Teen Titans is getting ready to come out.
Very soon.
Your last book was also a team book. Were you looking to stay in the team genre, or are you looking to, was it something you like to do?
I love drawing team books just because I like doing lots of different characters, lots of different faces, lots of different body types. Team books are the best place to do that, and it's kind of what's come my way. I haven't gone seeking it out, but when it comes my way, I'm always happy to take it on.
Now, when you're doing a book full of teens, normally teens can be drawn like little adults in a lot of books. Is it difficult to keep that different body idea in mind because it's not your normal default body shape inside?
It did just for the first issue, just sort of making sure that they weren't too muscular, making sure they weren't too tall, too broad, keeping them sort of reasonably lean, and then within that, making sure there was variety within the whole team. So, I'm sort of playing around with their heights and their body types a little, because they're all around about 17, 18, and I've actually had a lot of fun making them teenagers instead of, Secret Six, who are all sort of in their 30s.
Now, is there a character that you've really latched onto and that you found that maybe your favorite Teen Titan to draw so far?
I'm loving drawing all of them, but the one that I actually had difficulty when I started was Superboy. He's almost a generic-looking character, so sort of finding my version of that was tricky, and now that I feel like I've got my version of him, I'm loving drawing him because he's coming really easily, and he's a really sort of sweet kid. So I like him.
So what can we look forward to in the Teen Titans? Are we because the thing with Teen Titans is it was such a big popular book in the 80s, and there's been lots of attempts to bring it back. What is this Teen Titans book about?
The new series, our new series is going to be quite a bit lighter than it has been for the last couple of years. We're sort of trying to let them be kids again and bring back their innocence a little bit, and just sort of make them a cohesive team that actually is on the front line rather than a training ground for random superpowered kids. So it'll be the same team for quite a long time. There'll be a couple of people coming and going, but essentially it'll be the same core for the next few years. And it's just going to be a sweeter book than they've sort of been allowed to have.
It's going to be a lot more of the romance angle. Like there was always the action angle when they were always back in the headquarters and they were all being teenagers.
There's a lot of teenage action in the quarters. Every issue so far, we've had sort of a little bit of just them hanging out. In the romance department, there's a little bit because there's a relationship between two of the lead characters, but I don't know that it's going to be a big soap opera. I think it's just sort of more the dynamics of teenagers, which is pretty angsty. But I don't think it's going to be too over the top.
Now, it sounds like you're having a lot of fun drawing this because you've got a different kind of character types. You've got a sort of action and sort of normal teenage stuff. It seems like it's a really fun book as an artist to do different kinds of things. Is that true?
Yeah, absolutely. I love the sort of quieter moments where it's just a few characters, just whatever it is that they're discussing, and just sort of finding the subtlety in it rather than going for action faces when they're actually having a quiet conversation.
Do you call them action faces when you're drawing them?
I've been trying to avoid that as much as possible. There's in our first issue, there is a conversation that I think could be interpreted as an argument, and I don't actually think it was. And I said to JT, the writer, I want to play this down. I want this to sort of be a lot more subtle than a screaming match, and he went absolutely. And so just sort of finding the subtleties in expression in what is essentially not an altercation, but a not quite seeing eye to eye.
And so how JT Krul's the writer, how has the relationship been with him? You haven't worked with him before, have you?
No, I haven't worked with him before, but he's great. I met him at San Diego this year for the first time, but he's been so easy to collaborate with. He's been so easy to so open to suggestion, and he's been really sort of he provides me with so much information and so much sort of reference material. Anytime he wants something specific, he'll provide all the images for me in the script. He'll give me all the information, and he's just sort of been really easygoing, which I've been really lucky because so far I've worked with Gail Simone and Greg Rucker and Tony Bedard, and they've all been just so easy to work with, which, you know, I think I've had a pretty golden run so far.
So I'm here with writer AJ Lieberman. How you doing, sir?
Pretty good, thank you.
All right, you are the writer and creator of Cowboy Ninja Viking, one of my favorite books.
Co-creator, yeah.
Co-creator, yeah, with Riley, right?
Riley Rossman.
So where the hell did the idea for Cowboy Ninja Viking come from?
Yeah. The character came up first. We wanted to work together. We've been trying to do it for a long time.
Yep.
And when we finally, I kind of stumbled on the idea of a split personality. Actually, the first thing that came to me was the pirate, gladiator, oceanographer. And I was like, you know what?
That title doesn't work nearly as well.
No. Well, the original title was Viking Cowboy Ninja. It's actually on my computer still as a VNC, not CNV.
Yeah.
But because Viking was coming out, they didn't want two Vikings, so that was the big kind of fight we had with Image.
Yeah.
So when I came up with that, I said, I definitely stumbled onto something. Called Riley, what do you think, Cowboy Ninja Viking, you know, and his arch nemesis is Pirate Gladiator Oceanographer, which kind of opened up, you know, I had just read, what was it, the Gabriel Ba book, what was that,
Which one, the Umbrella Academy?
Yeah, the Umbrella Academy.
Yeah.
You know, and what he did in those first couple of pages were so like, you know, you get the idea, it's kind of fun, but it takes itself seriously. And I said I wanted to try to do something similar to that. Yeah. And when I got the character, you know, I thought that was for sure what we had, you know.
It's great. It's been a ton of fun to read. Every issue is crazy. So the look of it is unique. How much of that did you work with Riley in terms of like the use of color and also the word balloons? I mean, totally innovative.
The color was, we thought we were doing, I should say, a one color, kind of like Casanova.
Right.
It turns out that we were paying for 4 colors, but only getting 1 color. So we weren't sure. So there was that. So then we did that for like 3 issues, and then we decided, you know, it's getting too hard with the scene transitions.
Yep.
Without the use of color, Riley was getting hampered, and I was writing so many different scenes within the book.
Sure.
It was getting confusing. So we went to that, I think, around 4, and stayed with that through 5 through 10.
Yeah.
As far as the word balloons, I realized quickly during the pitch, when I was writing the pitch, you know, if we're going to see Duncan in a one shot, but I need the cowboy to say a line, we needed to come up with some visual way to let the reader know that it wasn't Duncan speaking, but it was the cowboy's personality. So we came up with the idea of the balloons, and then I searched for a letterer who also had artistic background, you know, who could actually draw. And we looked at a couple, and we found Clayton. He just recently graduated the Kubert School, so he was willing to work for very cheap.
Nice. That's good.
Very good.
Yep.
And I gave him like some food and some, you know, cereal bars, and he was willing to do for that.
Cool.
Yeah. And it worked out. You know, people seem to respond even to that on a whole other level.
Yeah.
You know, because once you get like 3 or 4 of them together, you're talking about 12 different characters.
Yep.
You know, and we were pretty good up until like issue 3, and then I would have to send out a list. I'm like, okay, we need a roadie, you know, an Applesby manager. We have a lounge singer. Yep. We have a chef, a karate, an Amish guy. Yep. You know, so it was getting harder and harder to, you know, conquistador. You know,
it's so much fun. Every time you introduce a new character, it's like, ooh, I want to see what the word balloon looks like.
It became a whole other, you know, kind of level to the book. So, you know, it was very interesting.
Cool. So you got a new book coming up from Image, coming up, a crime book.
A graphic novel. This is a graphic novel. Be solicited in November for January release, and it's called Term Life. And it's a crime story. Basically, it can be summed up: if Nick Barrow can stay alive for the next 21 days, he'll die happy.
All right, that's a good pitch. That's a good log line.
And basically, he takes out life insurance on himself, realizes that he has to stay alive for 21 days before the policy goes into effect. And the reason he has to stay alive is that everybody he knows wants to kill him. He's a thief. A job he pulled went very bad. Everybody he knows wants to kill him. And he's got to, you know, see it through for the 21 days.
Now the tone of this book is a little more serious crime focused than Cowboy Ninja Viking was a little wacky action. Right?
There's no wacky action. No. But you've read, I think, the first.
I've read it.
2 or 3 chapters. So I would say it's a little more serious. There's some humor, but mostly it's really a straight ahead, you know, a crime story.
And who's the artist on it?
His name is Nick Thornborough, and he is a video game artist who works with BioWare,
Cool.
And he also has, just to give him a plug, he's a fantastic. You've seen the art; it's incredible stuff. It really, this kind of noirish look, very, very cool. He did something called the Anthology Project up in Canada. I mean, obviously sold here too in America, but so he's another Canadian artist. I will only work with Canadians.
They seem to have a good work ethic.
Yeah, they do. Yeah, they say "hey," and I'm like, "You're just good." And yeah, and it worked really well.
Cool.
Yeah,
excellent. Well, yeah. So it comes out in January. People can pre-order it in November.
Absolutely.
And Image Comics, right? Still. Yep.
Image Shadowline. Yep.
Cool.
I'm here in Artist Alley with Declan Shalvey. How you doing?
I'm great, thanks very much.
I hear you were out very late last night enjoying the fruits of New York City.
I was out late or out early, depending.
I see.
Yeah, you got a great city. It's deadly here.
Now, you just started on Thunderbolts for Marvel,
Yes.
and previously having been doing 28 Days Later. So what's it been like to sort of make the jump to the big leads and stuff that's going on there? Has that been like a really great experience or fun? Or?
It's been mental, man. Seriously, I still don't believe it's actually happening. But 28 Days Later was for Boom Studios, and I did a year on that, and it just like the story arc closed, and I was ready to do more, but then Marvel called, and I'm not going to say no to Marvel, you know. But yeah, I'm delighted. I was one thing I was dead about those. It was the Daredevil crossover, and I really wanted to draw Daredevil, but he's not in it. I was like, oh.
It's early. You've got lots of time.
Still, what if I die tomorrow? I'll never get to draw Daredevil. It's optimistic, I know, but
That's terrible.
maybe I'll die later.
You're really living up to the classic Irish stereotype. I could die tomorrow.
I could, like, going the way I am with 4 hours sleep. I think I might last it through the day.
Well, this must be just like a huge, crazy experience. This is like your first big con is working for Marvel and everything.
Yeah, well, I've come to American cons before, but this is the first time. It's a really weird, surreal thing is a fan of artists who I'm fans of. I'm talking to, and they've seen my stuff, and it's really weird. I'm just used to obscurity, you know. And now, if I die in the gutter, somebody might notice. Seem to be very oriented about death, but still. Yeah, it's surreal. I'm delighted, but I'm trying my best on the pages. I think they're turning out okay. But yeah, I guess we'll have to see how it goes down, you know.
So how is it trying to break into comics and largely American comics from Ireland? Was that more difficult, or was it made easier now, I guess, by the internet?
Yeah, without to sound boring, the internet, you know. It's retarded, but I know without Twitter I wouldn't be doing Marvel work, you know. And I remember when I started, I was like, this is the stupidest thing I've ever heard of. But here we are, you know.
Believe me, I know.
The internet has been incredible. Like you can just post an image, anybody can see it. Of course, you would like to think it's good, which is why people are picking it up. But there's been some Irish guys before, but nobody like Garth Ennis clearly, Killian Plunkett, who else? Dermot Power. But nobody seemed to stay other than Garth and John McCrae, I guess. But yeah, it's weird. But there's a whole group of us. Like we've got a Eclectic Mix blog. So there's 7 professional Irish guys, and it's nice being the Marvel guy.
Yeah,
out of them,
I'm the big fish out of the group.
I get a lot of shit, so I can just throw out Marvel, and I was like, end the argument, you know.
One of the things I've noticed is that you if you look on Twitter, like you're interacting with a lot of artists all over the place, and there's this really neat community of artists that's formed, you know, over Twitter and over the internet like that. How important has that been for you to sort of know all those guys?
Really, well, it's more like I said about artists knowing my work. It's really because it's a certain type of thing I'm going for, and there's guys who I like who are doing that type of thing, and if they like my stuff, then it means I'm doing the type of thing I'm into. Because I think a lot of guys just don't actually like how they draw. Like you see some guys and they say, "Oh, I love Mike Mignola," and you look at their stuff, you're like, "Really? Don't see any Mignola there." But so it's been really, really encouraging to get that kind of feedback from people who I respect and people whose tastes, you know, like I'll throw out a certain artist and they're like, "Oh, I love his stuff," but other guys will go, "Who?" Like, yeah, they're the ones I want to talk to. You know?
Definitely. So with the Thunderbolts, you've got this really strange cast of people and everything. Who's been your favorite Thunderbolt to draw?
Crossbones.
Crossbones?
Like, it's Punisher with a mask. Done, you know.
You don't have to deal with his face.
It's more visually interesting. Well, they're all visually interesting. Like, you've got the guns with Crossbones. Man-Thing, it's all just texture, which is fun. Juggernaut, I can't believe I've drawn Juggernaut. If you told me a year ago I'd be drawing huge Juggernaut, I'm like, nah, I wouldn't do that. But it's a lot of fun. songbird. There's all something very visually interesting about all of them, and Jeff's scripts are really easy to draw from. Like it's like I know he's an artist too, so he keeps in mind that there has to be something visually interesting to keep you going. But yeah, something happens in the next Thunderbolts, man. It's class.
Well, it's been really good, and you know the issues before you with Kev Walker were really good, and they announced they're changing artists, and I feel like you've definitely, like, that must have been a lot of pressure, but I feel like you've definitely kept up that quality.
Yeah, well, Kev is still the main guy. I've just kind of filled in, but like I can see, like there's a certain crossover between us. Like I'm not exactly sure what it is. Maybe it's black spotting or composition, but it's he's definitely made a stamp on the book, and it was tough trying to take what he did and make it a little bit more mine, you know. Like a Juggernaut, we draw Juggernaut completely different. He draws him very like a tank. I draw more like the Hulk, I guess. I don't know. It's really interesting. It's fun. And I think we just kind of I weaved in at the right time. I think.
Yeah,
you know.
So I'm here with David Peterson, creator of Mouse Guard. How you doing?
I'm good. How are you?
Good, good. So we talked to you like New York Con like 2-3 years ago.
Okay.
Right when Mouse Guard had exploded.
Right.
Now you've got a Mouse Guard empire on your hands. It seems as if, right?
Yeah. I mean, I was gonna say unfortunately. It's a fortunate. It's a fortunate thing. It's a little disconcerting that all of a sudden I'm ruling an empire, I guess. But.
So here at the show we got the hardcover of the Legends of the Mouse Guard came out, right?
Yeah. Mouse Guard Legends of the Guard came out as a hardcover collection here at the New York Comic Con.
Yep.
That's the one that's it's the anthology series. So it's a collection of short stories by other talented creators who are telling the tall tales and legends and folk tales of the Mouse Guard world.
Yeah, cool. So what is it like to see these other great creators playing in your world with your characters?
It's awesome. It's awesome. I'm so proud of this book. It's amazing. I'm really happy with what they did. I picked people who I believed in, I had faith in. I tried to editorialize them as little as possible and just let them do what I knew they do, but they do well, why I picked them.
Sure.
And they didn't disappoint. We got some amazing stuff.
Did anybody really surprise you with what they turned in, or like go in a different direction that you didn't expect, or?
Wow. Anybody do something different? Now you're putting me on the spot.
That's all right.
Yeah, jeez. I mean, everybody. I think a lot of these people who especially do like independent work or, I don't want to say that they did better work than their normal stuff, but I almost feel like they rose to the occasion. Like they're dressing for company or something.
Right,
yeah. Like they really. I think some of them they did better work than they do on their own books, and that's nothing against their own books or anything. They just.
Yeah.
They brought their A+ game to my book.
Right.
Yeah.
Rich material to work with. So.
Yeah. So it's an amazing collection.
Cool. So you've got a new book coming out as well. It's on the horizon.
Yeah. Mouse Guard, the Black Axe. My kind of continuation of the regular stories that I do is going to be starting in the next month or two. Issue 1 is in the can, and I think I just heard it at the printer. Yeah. So I'm a little behind on issue 2, but I'm trying to. Yeah, I'm trying to. I'm a one-man band, so when anything goes wrong, it's all my fault, and I'm trying to pick up the pace again and get back on track.
Cool. Well, what can you tell us about the story?
It's a prequel story. It takes place before Fall, which was the first of my books, and it's about the character Kellenaw and the day his paw first touched the Black Axe. Cool. It's kind of a quest story. It's a little different. It's got narration text, which is something new for Mouse Guard that I don't tend to do. So. Cool. Yeah, I'm trying to play with some stuff.
Yeah, I remember when you introduced the Black Axe, immediately I was like, oh, there's a lot there.
Yeah. The more stories I told with characters kind of surrounding the Black Axe mythos, I realized I'm building this up. I got to answer the rest of the questions that all the fans have. And this still won't answer all the questions that the fans have, but it's a start. It's a start.
And then of course a little self-serving here, but Mouse Guard is available on Graphically, and how cool is it to see your books kind of make the jump to digital?
I think it's great. I think it's amazing. It's a cool transition. Yeah. Paper prices are going up. Right. We know that there's some problems with getting comics to comic shops with distributors or distributors working with publishers.
Especially with independent press. And
Sure. So I think Mouse Guard's lucky in the sense that we don't have to suffer too many of those problems. Right. But I know for other people who are breaking in or trying to get their stuff out there,
digital is going to be a huge solution for most of their problems, I think. So
Yeah.
I'm happy to be out there in that same frontier with them.
Cool, excellent. Well, we're happy to have you. So excellent. So.
I am here with Phil Hester. How you doing, Phil?
Great. How are you?
I'm very good. Now the big news at this con for you is the upcoming Fire Breather cartoon with Cartoon Network. How's that coming? Where are we at?
It's really exciting. It's I haven't seen the finished product yet. I'll see it tomorrow with everybody else that comes to the panel. But I have seen about 80% of it, and little roughs and animatics of what I haven't seen, and it's really cool. I mean, we're really excited about it. Anytime you give something up for an adaptation, you get nervous.
Is it mostly that you've given it up or you're not involved in the development?
Yeah,
of it?
I mean, once you option something, it's sort of out of your hands, and. But when we turned it over to Cartoon Network, we knew it was going to be in the hands of really creative people, and they turned it over to Peter Chung, who's a great director, and he brought back a really, really exciting, fun action movie.
It's fun. And does it have the general look of like Andy's art and stuff like that, or is it a little different?
It's weird because it's really a hybrid of Andy's look and Peter Chung's look. You know, Peter, if you know Eon Flux, he does really distended figures and really angular hair and things like that. And Andy's style is a more open, cartoony style. And they landed somewhere in the middle of that. But then it's all, rendered computer graphics. So it's new territory for everybody. And it's exciting. It looks good.
Yeah. Is the comic book sort of on an indefinite hiatus, or will that be coming back at any point?
No, actually, the comic is coming out again to sort of coincide with the air date of the film.
Oh, great.
So we'll have new Fire Breather material in November, and that'll be the first of a 4-issue miniseries called Fire Breather Home Gang, and that'll be our 4 issues for this year, and then hopefully we'll be like Hellboy, where we'll come out like with a miniseries a couple a year or once a year at least.
It really is for me one of those series that I've always really enjoyed, but there's just not a lot of it.
I know, and I have to apologize for that. I mean, in my world we'd be like Invincible, and we'd be on issue 80 by now, but Andy's not a 21-year-old kid who can live on ramen noodles like the Invincible guys were back when that started. So, he had to take some real jobs, and that sort of slowed us down. But
it's one of those realities of sort of like indie comics, I guess, really.
Oh, definitely. That's the hardest part of this whole job. I mean, the indie side of things is keeping the lights on while you're doing your book. And that's what's great about the small publishers that are popping up now, like Archaea and Boom and even Top Cow, is that they can give you seed money to just keep your book going for a while and hopefully get it out there.
Speaking of some of those other guys, you've been doing the darkness for Top Cow for a while now. You're the guy who's not Ron Mars, doing things at Top Cow.
I'm the only writer allowed besides Ron Mars. No, I've been doing the darkness for a couple of years, and I think I'll be on it for another year or so at least. And it's been a lot of fun. They've let me take a lot of chances with what's really their franchise character. And I've never really gotten any blowback from them about any decision I've wanted to make. And it's been really it's probably the most rewarding work-for-hire experience I could have.
I think Ron sort of said the same thing. I mean, and you've been on it for a while, so did you really know you'd be on it for such a long time and really get to go after like long planned stories?
Yeah, I pitched them a 3-year arc on the character, and they went for it. And right now what we're talking about is continuing on after that, that first pitch I gave them. So yeah, it's been fun, and it's a great place to work, and the people there are great.
It really is the Darkness is a really kind of interesting character because he's not bad, he's not good, he's sort of all those things, but you can make him anything you want in that. And then at the same time, there's also those historical darkness stuff. It's like an endless well of stuff you can do.
Yeah, it's fun to write an anti-hero, and he's sort of the epitome of the anti-hero. And it's an interesting character because, like you said, there's so many places you can take it. But the look is always satisfying to those hardcore Darkness fans. He'll always look like the Darkness, and it'll have that same visual flair, but we can sneak in really deep, kind of twisted stories on it. And it's really a unique storytelling opportunity because there's that core audience that as long as they know they're going to get their meat and potatoes, Darkness stuff, that, like a lot of sleek action and, a lot of like clever turns of phrases, we can still take that story in a lot of different places.
Now, also you're doing some stuff for Arcade. You're doing Days Missing 2, but that's the series number 2, as opposed with Archaea and Gene Roddenberry. Can you explain what that is?
Yeah, Days Missing 2 is a follow-up to the Days Missing series that we did last year, which is about a character called the Steward, who is I guess the easiest way to explain it to comic fans is that he's a badass version of the Watcher. You know, he observes humanity, but when he sees we're about to go off the rails, he's not afraid to come down and change things for us and help us out. But he still has that sort of Roddenberry Prime directive about him that he doesn't want to meddle too much. So he removes that day from our memory. So that's why it's called Days Missing. So like he'll come, if we were on the brink of nuclear war, he'd come down, undo that, but we never knew it happened. Right. You know, he removed that. So the second series is officially called Days Missing 2 Kestis. And Kestis, we find, is a character much like the Steward, who's, as far as we know, immortal, and has been living among humans all this time, and is sort of his opposite number. She's not necessarily evil, but she sees humans as they are on the ground, and she's not so enamored by them. And he sees our potential. So there's conflict there. Right. And there's also a little romance between them because they're sort of the only two of their kind. So there's a lot of romantic tension and a lot of just cool science fiction stories to tell with those two characters.
Now you're a guy I first came across your work as an artist, as a penciler, and now you're writing almost exclusively. Yes. How was that transition for you? Do you feel like you've established yourself? People still think of you as a penciler now, or?
Oh yeah, it's funny because 10 years ago I was drawing professionally, so I could afford to write, like side projects like the coffin or whatever. You know, I could afford to write those for free because I was drawing. And now I'm sort of in the mode where I'm taking more writing assignments so I can draw maybe one of my own creator-owned things. So someday I'll find the equilibrium there, but I don't know where it is.
Well, as a writer who can't draw, screw you.
Yeah, sorry, but to me they're sort of the same activity. You know, it's all storytelling, and to separate those two is really impossible for me.
I think Philip from Talk Cow had told me once that you have like odd scripts. Like your scripts don't look like typical. How do you do them?
I do what I call Kurtzman style scripts, and if you're familiar with like the war books he edited for EC, he would write the script and then he would actually thumbnail the stories as well, and then hand off those thumbnails to the artist, and they would riff off those. So that's what I do for The Darkness. I don't do that for every book I write, but for The Darkness it sort of helps speed things along.
Right. You basically are doing breakdowns.
Yeah, I do breakdowns and balloon placements and things like that. So they get a script from me, and then they also get what's basically a little dummy version of the comic book.
Well, thanks very much, and looks like you got a lot going on.
Yeah, too much to keep up with sometimes, but it's better than the opposite.
Yes. I'm here with Brian Michael Bendis. How you doing, sir?
Hey, man, what's up?
Not much, not much. So recently,
I'm gonna fall asleep on the microphone.
Oh, you gotta stay awake.
Yeah, okay.
So recently on Twitter, you made some comments about the state of journalism, investigative journalism in comics. So we're here. So, Mr. Bendis, how do you respond to allegations that kids' comics, there aren't enough comics for kids?
I made my own kids' comic.
That's
what you do. Yep. That's what you do. You don't like you look around. If you don't like what you see, make it yourself. You change it. No, actually, it was funny when people started bringing that up around the internet a couple of weeks ago. Yeah. I was all like, we obviously already have ours underway, and I wanted to wait till the convention to announce it. But yeah, I agree. There should be more new products. That not just for kids, for all ages. That's what I call it. Right. I like Bone, just something that there are different levels of appreciation for different age groups, and that's what hopefully Takio will be. That me and Mike are doing right now, co-created by my daughter. So
what's the premise of the book?
Premise of the book is it's a multicultural family with adoption in it. These two sisters who are driving each other insane. The age difference. They have an overprotective mother that is keeping the older daughter has to keep her sister with her at all times. They're driving each other insane. And as things happen, they accidentally get superpowers, and their whole life changes, and their relationship changes. Cool. And because their mother is nuts, they have to be home by 6 no matter what. So and keep the secret from her as well. Cool. So. It takes place in Portland, Oregon.
Sounds like it hits close to home.
Yeah, exactly. And, it's funny, me and Mike were working on this for a couple of years, actually, but even coming up with a superhero title in this, that hasn't been done before, that you haven't seen before, we were still looking for that extra little hook. And, we were at dinner talking about it, and my daughter perks up and goes, what about this? And said something that only the pure imagination of a child could just give you that extra awesome thing you've never heard of before. And Mike looked at me and goes, because I draw that. And so that's why she gets a co-creator credit on the book.
I was going to ask you.
Awesome, book wasn't going without her. So absolutely.
Yeah.
Not only is one of the characters based on her, but she actually added something unbelievable to it. So
Cool. So is it going to be standard issue format, or are you going to go different with the
We're
format?
a graphic novel, a slightly smaller size than normal comic book. Just something, that you can just pick up and enjoy. Our plan is to do one of them a year, like one whole graphic novel a year in between Powers arcs. Hopefully, if it connects with enough of an audience, we will.
Cool.
So
Will it cross over with Pet Avengers at all, or?
Stop saying Pet Avengers. How dare you? How dare you?
Chris is going to...
I'm out of here. Pet Avengers is the bane of my existence. Sorry.
So the other big news on the superhero side was you and Malieve doing Moon Knight. How do you respond to the allegations that Moon Knight can't carry a title?
What are the allegations?
We're doing journalism here. We're doing journalism. This is hard present journalism.
All right, I get it now. I've had a very long weekend.
I know, yeah.
I'm going to slow on the uptake. How do I respond to your allegation that Moon Knight had 2 long-running titles, one with Doug mentioned Bill Sienkiewicz, and one that actually lasted longer in the 90s, lasted like 60-some issues.
Stephen Platt one, right?
It ended with Stephen Platt, but it was, I think, Chris Warner mostly.
Yeah.
But so there you go. Mark Spector Moon Knight lasted a long time. Yeah. So there you go. I know my Moon Knight.
There you go. So was it the fact that that Brubaker put him in Secret Avengers, you had to steal him away, or was it?
He's barely been in Secret Avengers.
Yes,
but
he got a cool Mars costume.
And then went off to have a snack, I guess. But anyway, I'm just goofing around. I said this to Ed. I go, I read Secret Avengers to keep up on the Moon Knight, and there's no Moon Knight. So my point is, what? I don't remember. No, you know what? What happened was we were actually going back to Spider-Woman, and Joe came up to me at a creative retreat and said, Moon Knight. And I went over and goes, you two should do Moon Knight. Can you see it? Can you see it? And then I went, no. And then I walked away. And then a day later, I came back and I think I have a really good take on Moon Knight. Because it has to be something special. It can't just be, here's another Moon Knight special. He's tortured, Khonshu, blah, blah, blah. I wanted to...
Is Frenchie going to be in it?
Frenchie's making goo-goo eyes. No, I wanted to have a unique take, like something really for our Moon Knight fans will be happy, but for people who've never read a Moon Knight but kind of like the way he looks or something, would come in. So, and something worth Alex drawing. Alex is a very special artist, and you can't just give him any old thing.
Right.
He has a very unique talent, and we came up with something that he'll be able to illustrate better than anyone. So.
Cool. And speaking of Alex, Scarlet launched recently, and
boy, oh boy, what a relief and thrill it was that thing launched so well. For in this market for a non-superhero title to be doing almost Ultimate Spider-Man numbers was really what a relief. And Scarlet will continue unstopped by the Moon Knight.
Uninterrupted.
Uninterrupted.
Okay.
We have known about Moon Knight for many, many months.
Oh, cool. Okay.
Yeah, so we've been working on the behind the scenes to make both books and to not have to worry about it. So that's the plan. Yeah. So thanks to everyone who supported Scarlet and is digging it. The next issue goes to print next week.
Yeah.
And issue 4 is the one where you really get to find out how big the book's going to get.
Yeah. I'm really big fans of the supporting cast of Scarlet, mainly the journalists in the newspaper, the local Portland. I think those guys are great. You should give them more. You should give them speaking lines. We should see them. Right. Yeah.
Okay. Yes. Now, so you were offended by my. Now, here's the thing. To the blogosphere that kind of.
Well, I wasn't offended. Just
no. We can talk about it. That I made a point on Twitter that I would like to see more long form journalism, which you have now interpreted as you want more. Allegation journalism.
Well, to your point though, in Scarlet, you've got a couple of journalists in the book. There are news articles. Those are some great journalism.
Yeah.
You should give those characters in the book.
Yes. Anyway, so
anyway,
it's going to be you and John Sutras running around. No.
Exactly.
No, all I said was I wanted to see more long-form journalism, more retrospective types of reviews instead of some people thought that meant I wanted people to talk more about me, which I promise you.
Yeah.
If I never heard anyone ever on the internet talk about me again, I'd be fine. But what I was hoping for, I'm a big fan of like Tomorrow's Heroes publications that really examine the work you know. And I was just saying it wouldn't be nice if there was more of that, because some of that stuff has gone away in print, but it hasn't been replaced with anything.
It's tough with the internet. I mean, it's like everyone's so quick.
Listen, I wouldn't say it was tough. I didn't say, but I said I would like to see more. How people interpreted that as I was yelling at everyone or saying journalism sucks. That's not what I said. In fact, I said, I go to your site, I go to everyone's site. I just said, here's something I don't see that I would like to see more of. But boy, oh boy.
And I'm poking fun because
it's funny. It's funny. I
But,
just want where people don't know what we're talking about.
Yeah,
That's what
exactly. So finally, wrap it up. Ultimate Spider-Man's hitting 10 year anniversary. Well, I'm sorry, Ultimate Comics Spider-Man.
No,
Ultimate. Okay, good.
No one was buying that.
No, at all. The indicia was hysterical.
It just kind of happened to me one day too. I don't even know who came up with it. But
so big 125th issue or
it's 150th issue. It's actually the 10th anniversary of the book and of course of the entire line of Ultimate Comics, which for a comic book imprint is a miracle.
It's huge.
You count on your finger how many imprints have lasted more than 2-4 years, you know. So we're thrilled about that, honestly. What we've created is a triple-sized anniversary issue. Awesome. Every artist that's contributing a story to it is someone who I think is in the independent comic world who's really something special. When I came, the idea was when I was given Ultimate Spider-Man, I was an indie guy who was coming out, and Joe saw something special in me, so went out and found artists that a lot of them you know already. There's Scotty Young, who just won an Eisner, Jamie McKelvey, Joel Jones, and they're going to join Sarah Pichelli and David LaFuente, and all together, gorgeous book.
You pretty much picked out like my favorite artists for this book. Like it's really, I mean, Scotty's great, Jamie's great, Joel's amazing. I love LaFuente, who's been killing it on the book.
And what I did is I gave them each a chapter that expresses what I think is special about their art, and in return, they blew it out of the park. And then what's also cool about these artists, they couldn't be more different. So what you like in a book that has it's not an anthology, but different chapters, you want each one to complement each other by being so different. And it really is, it really came together fantastic. So. You guys are awesome, and congrats. What's the craziest thing you saw at the convention?
I don't think I can talk about it on camera.
Journalism.
Everything was falling out in all the wrong places.
I saw
the anime. It's been wacky.
But
it's been good. It's been packed. I mean, it's like they need another day. It's like feels like a mini San Diego now.
Listen, I don't want to talk ill of other people. I wouldn't look good in tights. Like I know this of myself.
Exactly.
There are some people who don't know that of themselves, and I'm not showing up just as Captain America because I know what it would look like. I'll do you the favor, not do that. I wish we could speak for everyone in that.
I got respect for them though. I wouldn't put myself out there. They're taking the risks. They're doing it.
On the other hand, I would like to thank all of the beautiful young women who decided to show up here in close to nothing. That really did make the weekend go by
half the time they're handing something out and working for a booth. Not that. The true sincere ones.
Yeah, the sincere ones who said, "This is my statement." I appreciate it. I'm appreciating it.